All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and start Chapter 12, Distance Education, and find out what distance education is all about. It's the delivery of instruction to students who are separated from the teacher by time and or location. So, obviously, they are not in the same general vicinity as you or me. What we're doing is providing instruction to someone either down the road, across the world, on a timely basis. The teacher may be at one site and the student at other sites, or they might all be on the same site but at different times during the day, so we can be separated by time. Now, the way to be able to deliver this kind of instruction is by the technology that we have today to bridge that time and location barrier. Distance education was originally developed to deliver instruction to remote rural locations. Obviously, people who are isolated away from civilization, or at least all of the comforts of civilization. The only way to deliver any kind of instruction would be via distance ed. Today, DE delivers instructions at places and times convenient to learners. And so now it's shifted more to the learner side because of the technology and it being quite affordable. We can then deliver distance ed very economically to those isolated individuals and have them reap the benefits of good teachers, good teaching techniques, and give them every opportunity to succeed just like any other normal student. And basic distance education is education anytime, any place. And that's the key, anytime and any place. Now, how does distance education affect us? Well, they offer flexible licensing, renewal, and professional development. A lot of these distance ed providers, their software, their hardware can be very competitive in price and very flexible in the software renewal process. And there's more and more opportunities for training, more and more opportunities to get experienced with the hardware and software delivery systems. So we, as instructors, can help to deliver that type of instruction without not a whole lot of experience. And because of this, we're kind of looking at rethinking the nature of instruction and providing an environment where teaching and learning no longer are bound by traditional classroom walls. And so this is kind of making us think of how we can deliver instructions in an electronic or digital format and make it effective, even though we may not be standing right there face to face with these students. And so it's forcing us to kind of tear down some of the old traditions that we've kind of grown accustomed to in teaching. Distance education has affected education by changing courses available in higher education. At one time, you were pretty much limited to the coursework there at your particular school, whether it be high school, college, university, whatever it was. Now, that's not the case with distance ed. You can take courses from any place if you've got the technology and the software. They're encouraging creation of statewide virtual high school programs. The state of Louisiana has one, and so students don't have to go to high school to be able to get a high school education. They can uh, participate via distance ed and get those courses that they need to be able to sit for their GED, or else in some cases just graduate with their class. It also helps to support district-wide courses in virtual classrooms, and so it's not like uh, we have to make a big production of these kind of courses. That it's like they made it in a studio. All we need is a camera in a classroom placed on a teacher, and we can watch him or her go about their normal routine, and that student can watch and participate just like they're there. It also enables courses to be offered that might not be able to be offered because of low enrollments. Obviously, for colleges and universities, the amount of students that are paying and sitting in the seats determines their funding, and so student populations are very, very critical to community, technical, and regular colleges. And so if a class would not make it one campus, then we can kind of combine that together with a distance learning situation and then make it more cost effective. And certainly we can also offer instruction to those students who may be homebound because of some physical impairment, and do a very good job providing them with the same opportunity to learn and be instructed just like any student would if they were in the classroom. So historically, distance ed started off as correspondence courses, and I'm sure you might remember some of the old correspondence courses where readings and assignments were sent and returned via the U.S. Postal Service. And so you had an instructor who took care of that correspondence course, and he or she had to kind of manage the mail, and it took a while for it to get from point A to point B, and then to get checked and then sent back for the student to move on in the course. Normally, any kind of tests were proctored where the student was, and so that kind of required some collaboration on the part of instructors and other institutions. And basically, you were learning independently. It was almost like independent study, and you were kind of isolated. You didn't have access to that teacher, other than by mail or by telephone, to be able to ask questions and get instructions. Later on, we utilized radio and also television to enrich the delivery of the instruction. So instead of just reading what had to be read and doing what had to be done, you were able now to either listen or else visually see what was going on, which was a much better learning experience. And telephones added interaction between the instructor and students. Phone bridge lines were set up so that you could dial in and then carry on a synchronous type of communication with the teachers and students, which was certainly an improvement from just the correspondence type of courses. And that's getting it back to the phone bridges, which were able to connect multiple phone lines at one time and to increase the teacher-student as well as student-to-student interaction. And here's a little kind of timeline of the development of distance ed, and you can kind of take a look at that. Now, with the advent of the personal computer and the internet, that kind of took distance education to a whole new level. It added interaction via email, conferences, or chats. And so we could communicate much better utilizing the internet. And then we could offer live and recorded streaming audio and video, as we've discussed before. And then incorporate multimedia presentations to really enhance our instruction. Now, what are some ways to deliver distance ed? Well, we adapt distance education methods and technology for use in traditional classrooms. And so that, how do we fit this technology into a regular traditional classroom setting where we may be lecturing to 20 or 30 students? Well, one of the things that it can do is to enhance classroom instruction by allowing master teachers or guests to join classes via distance ed. If you're talking about maybe some kind of lesson on, let's say, history, and or let's just say Louisiana history, and you were talking about, let's say, Governor Edwin Edwards' time spent as governor. Well, if it could be set up, there's no reason why you couldn't have Governor Edwards talking via distance ed right there as a guest speaker to tell students about what it was like to be governor 3 times in this state. And so that just opens up vast new possibilities for learning and interaction. And facilitating team teaching and cooperative learning across the district. If you got some teachers that have some expertises in various areas, you can draw on that expertise and help to raise everybody's level of teaching as well as learning across the school district. Now, how do we design and implement distance ed instructions? Well, the DID process apply, but design adjustments have to be made for the distance education. We've got to consider the strategic instructional design that fully articulates the course components and required technologies. We got to know what it is we want to teach, and then see if we have the infrastructure, the network architecture to be able to provide that, and the hardware and technology to make it happen. And then see if those sections of the class will lend themselves to a distance learning environment. We have to kind of look at all the components of what it is we teach and how we want to deliver it. We need well-articulated lesson plans that anticipate and respond to contingencies. What happens if the power goes out during our lesson? What's plan B to be able to get that information over to the student? So we have to really think and plan ahead for all kinds of situations that could pop up, because let's face it, things will happen with machinery, and things will usually go bad whenever we least expect it to happen, and at least can afford it to happen. So we have to be prepared. Now, if we got the hardware, we got the technology and all of that other stuff, but we also need to look at the human factor, preparing students for this. We got to be able to screen students that can determine if the students' learning styles are compatible with distance ed. There may be some students out there that distance ed is the last thing that they need to do, because they won't learn, because of their learning style. And so we want to steer them away from that. But there may be some who will thrive in it. We won't know that unless we screen them. Then orientating students for working independently will improve their effectiveness. And so certainly these students need to be disciplined enough to be able to work independently and make sure that they can get their work done in a good amount of time that we have for the course. So we need to be able to tell them, orient them to the technology, answer their questions, and then provide any kind of help that they might need during the time that they're being taught. And obviously we need to plan for Murphy's Law. We anticipate possible curriculum and technical problems by making contingency plans. Like I said, always have a plan B. And have some contingency plans and backup systems in place, and make use of them in case something happens. And really not all of our issues may be technical. They may be logistical. So we need to be able to plan for either one, or both, I should say. Now, how do we kind of provide feedback to students that are taking our courses? We got all kinds of possibilities available to us. Obviously, the first thing we can do is just talk to them on the phone. Many of our new phone systems in our schools have networking capability. We can utilize a speakerphone so that we can talk hands-free back and forth. And continual feedback is as valuable in distance education as it is for traditional instruction. So we want to try to give some immediate feedback to our students on how they're doing. And so just because we're not there with them doesn't mean that they don't need to get it. We need to be able to provide that for them. And so evaluating progress calls for creative and flexible approaches. Now, one of the things we can do is to provide an additional assessment component to be used in addition to testing. And so a combination of assessment and testing can be as effective as in traditional instructional environments. And so we can kind of vary the way we test and assess our students. Obviously, with some of the newer course management systems, we can have them taking tests, real time, no matter where they are. Turn on the test, let them take it, turn it off whenever time is up. And like that, it's graded immediately, and they get immediate feedback. So it's just, we may also have the test faxed or emailed to a proctor and let him or her go out there and administer the test. There's just, many ways to get it done. Now, what about support technologies? Well, we need some synchronous support technologies if we're doing real-time instruction. Your synchronous support technologies will support your instruction right then while you're doing it. It all occurs at the same time, but it may be at different locations. Now, as for asynchronous support technologies, your support is time shifted. So just because you did a lecture today, that means that you made, like today, this is on a Thursday that I'm doing this lecture. I may not put this lecture out for you to see it maybe till the weekend. And so, like that, I'm time shifted. But then, that could be delivered at one location or a variety of locations. And here's some examples of synchronous and asynchronous types of technologies. And you get your for synchronous, your net meetings, video conferencing, which works real good. Asynchronous, video tapes, audio tapes, CDs, DVDs, of course, email, and all. And let's not discount the old 20th century kind of stuff, and that's handouts. They work well too. Let's talk about some telephone technologies. Smart speakerphones and audio conferencing let a small group in one location communicate with others. Most phone systems today can provide you with both technologies. Now, a conference call allows people in multiple locations to communicate. And so we just connect those different locations and allow people to talk across the system to each other real time. And phone bridges let large groups communicate by calling into a single number. So like that, everybody calls into a single number, kind of like what net meeting does. You call into a single number, and then you get added to the queue. And then you have access to whatever course content or whatever the local learning environment is on that software that they use. And so you can log in and take part. Now, for some synchronous technologies, obviously, we got our video conferencing. And so by compressing the video, we can utilize broadband phone lines to be able to transmit that signal real time. And it can create a virtual space where students and teachers can interact virtually face to face. And so because of the communication capabilities, we can talk to each other with very, very little delay. District-wide system can connect students in schools in interactive video classrooms, and so having those kinds of technologies will allow teachers at different schools to be able to collaborate together and teach their students in a more effective manner. Internet chats. They offer the opportunity for invited students for high quality interaction. And so I've never participated in anything like that other than just some few little chats on Joule, but there's no reason why that that can't be expanded to take place in and amongst students in a classroom. Even though it's only text, it could include audio, visual, and video components. Those kinds of things can be embedded or else attached to those messages. You can get a bunch of links sent. And this can be more comfortable for those students who may be rather shy, who would not participate anyway, kind of maybe feel threatened or uncomfortable sharing in a group setting. This may be exactly what they need to kind of express themselves in a non-threatening way. And also it gives the user some time to reflect on input before sending, kind of make sure you have your message clear in your mind before you type it up and send it. So you get a little chance to kind of think about what you're trying to write before you send it. We've got the Internet Classroom. Internet meeting software creates synchronous and asynchronous virtual classrooms. And so these sites that provide these kinds of technologies for us will usually offer authoring tools for teachers to create site-based lessons. So we kind of create our own web pages. Now, bottom line is you and I have to have the time to be able to do that kind of stuff. And most of us are pretty well booked up when it comes to free time. And so just be aware that it's going to take some while for you to develop those kinds of things. And you can compare and analyze different sites before selecting can enhance final results. So you can go around and look around the net to see what other people are doing. You can kind of take a look at some of their best practices and then say, okay, this is what I want to include in my site-based lesson, and then do it. And like that, that'll cut down on the development time. Some more phone technologies. We've got voicemail, which will provide some time-shifted communication. So you're kind of limited by the time that's going to pass once you leave the voicemail till the person who you sent to will check their voicemail mail and then respond to you. That could be minutes, hours, maybe even days before that would happen. Then you got fax transmissions of materials with text and graphics can also support asynchronous communications. Fax machines are relatively inexpensive and very, very easy to use. And they can scan whatever kind of print material you've got and send it on its way very, very quickly and economically. Then we got email, which is the most significant distance ed asynchronous technology. Just email works very, very well. We can talk teacher to student or student to student just by knowing each other's email address. We can exchange material by just putting attachments to our messages. And it offers the opportunity for a thoughtful exchange from either one-on-one or one-to-many. And so we can include more people in our email or see in the to box, or we can carbon copy them. It doesn't matter. But we can get a whole lot of people involved on discussions. Or we can keep it personal, one-to-one. Offers us a whole lot of flexibility there. Then we got electronic discussions or electronic forums. We've got virtual bulletin boards that provide one-to-many communication support discussions. And those bulletin boards then can thread off with all kinds of discussions. Uh, I'm sure you've seen that Jewel has a bulletin board type of component to it, and so anybody else that's in the class can then start discussing things by just starting threads. They can be started by the teacher as a question or an assignment. They can be generated by students in virtual study groups. But this really helps to support social learning and idea exchange. It's all about helping students learn, either teacher to student or student to student. Then we got our online classrooms. It's a class website that can combine asynchronous or synchronous technology, so we can have ourselves our own web page. Students can access the tools and resources at any time and from any place, just like you can here in Jewel. Even when students meet synchronously via compressed video, a supporting class website can be an important resource. So let's just not discount the web page, or Jewel page, because we can put all kinds of content out there for students to be able to have access to that would help to kind of support the compressed video portion of the lesson, to kind of help them understand the concepts being talked about. Then we got our learning management systems, our LMSs, which is Jewel is one of many. They are an alternative to traditional class websites. They're a resource tool that schools purchase to create full integrated online classrooms. And, there's many companies that will provide hosting, like we're doing right here with Jewel. And it enables the school to kind of obtain a consistent look and feel across the district. You got yourself, you look at the Jewel sign-in page, that was created. Everybody's looks the same. And so you kind of get some consistency there. And one of the wonderful things about your course management system for teachers is they provide tools for teachers to grade and also assess students quickly, efficiently, and most importantly, without having to bring anything home to grade. That's the big key. Now, one of the things we have to deal with when it comes to issues in distance ed is, are our teachers and students ready for it? And both parties are going to need to accept the following: new roles and responsibilities. More of the responsibility of learning is kind of put on the back of the student. The teacher now becomes more of a tech IT support person, as well as the content expert. And so teachers that deal a lot with distance ed have to be able to have more responsibilities than they would normally have in a face-to-face environment. And of course, we got to know and be comfortable with the technologies and how to use them effectively. And this is one thing that's very, very important, that students will need to be less passive, more responsible learners. They're going to have to dig for some information. They're going to have to do what it's going to take to go the extra mile to be able to learn some concepts. It's not like they're going to have to just show up on time, sit in the classroom for 55 minutes or 50 minutes and be spoon-fed the information that they need for their classwork. They're going to have to be more involved in it. And so that's, I think anybody would say would be a good thing. Now, on the preparation and classroom management side of things, don't expect that you're going to go out there and start teaching online and think that your life is going to be much easier and much more uh, less complicated. If anybody who has developed an online class will tell you, and I'll tell you, that be prepared to work harder because you have to look ahead, think ahead, plan ahead, much more than you normally would. Uh, because you've got all of these students spread out all over the place, and every one of them needs you, and you have to be able to interact with them, and that's maybe a whole lot more than them just coming to your office and asking you a question. You're going to have to get on the phone, on fax, or course management system, or by email, and get in touch with these students and answer their questions. And that takes way more time than just looking them face to face and say, this is what this means. And so be prepared to work more. You got to learn the required techniques to be able to teach that content online, or using distance ed to prepare and plan for that, and then respond to increased volume of student interactions. They're going to be emailing you. You're going to get emails from 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when these students are up doing their work. You definitely may be asleep then, and then first thing you'll have to do is to address and respond to those questions in order to uh, keep up the communication that's critical for student success. Districts need to provide and funding support for alternative instruction programs. You know, I told one of our vice chancellors, you want to have some distance ed, start giving teachers release time. Now, I couldn't read him that well if he was saying, yeah, good luck with that, or else, he's very committed to it, and then figuring out some ways to make it happen. But there's that mentality that's out there amongst teachers that don't do that. They'll say, well, oh, look, him and her, they only have to teach 2 classes, and they've got a couple of online classes, and they're not teaching as much as I am. Well, they don't know all the other stuff that you're doing, that you're teaching at school, at home, maybe even anywhere that you got internet access. And so you got to have the funding, you got to have the support to make this work. And technical support, it all falls apart without it. You've got to have good technical support from your vendors, and it has to be there in place and accessible 24/7, 365. Need to have some kind of backup plan, some systems, and clear direction on how to proceed when failure occur is vital. It's not a question of if, it's when. And things will fail. There's no system that's 100% foolproof. And so have a backup plan ready in case that happens. And of course, on the student side, they need some instructional support and access to the teacher to answer questions, clarifications, which is normal for any kind of classroom environment, and have the resources to help them meet course objectives. You and I have to be able to provide that to them in a digital form. Then we've got the issue of copyright. What do we do about that? Well, the Teach Our Technology Education and Copyright Harmonization Act clarifies some guidelines of fair use in distance education. And these rules are pretty complex and often more restrictive than for face-to-face classrooms. You know, copyright's copyright, even though we're using copyright materials in a traditional way. Sometimes it's a little more complicated when we're doing it online. And so the development of the Teach Act is important and necessary first step in copyright clarification for distance ed. None of us want to break the law. We want to give the developers of our content, their fair shake. And so these issues will be answered and dealt with in the courts. And, as time goes on, things may change. Reinventing the classroom, the future of distance and alternative delivery. Who knows what distance education is going to look like in 10 years? But obviously, it can be used to answer new demands on schools from technology and changing society. And you and I need to be familiar with the technology and how to apply it in a distance education setting. So that wraps up Chapter 12. We only have 2 more to go. And so my plan is to try to get this all done, all 14 chapters done and available to you before Thanksgiving. So like that, you've got at least 2, maybe 3 weeks to kind of wrap everything up before we go on the Christmas break. So I'll do my best to get chapters 13 and 14 done. This is like on a Thursday. I'm going to try to get it all done by next week so that everything will be available to you and you can move on and wrap this up real quick. So with that, we will call it a night, and I'll post this thing as soon as possible.